Zamfara State Commissioner of Police commended inhabitants of Svtv for complying with the government lockdown directive. President Muhammadu Buhari condemns killing of 47 persons by bandits. Military opens 2 COVID-19 labs in Abuja and Lagos. On business, Ferguson directed suspension of crude oil production in 24 hours. And on the international scene, Saudi Arabia may sell one of its highest volumes of oil to U.S. before OPEC deal comes into effect. Hello viewers, welcome to Svtv News. I am Musa Joy Onyoza. Now the news in full. The Zamfara State Commissioner of Police CP Usman Nagogo has expressed appreciation to members of the public, especially marketers in Svtv town, for complying with the lockdown order of Svtv market by the state government. CP Usman Nagogo made the expression when he visited the market as part of effort to enforce the order. He further called on the general public to continue to cooperate with the government and security agencies in their effort to curb the spread of the COVID-19 in the state. In a related development, CP Usman Nagogo and his committee members visited Zamfara-Katsina border at Ankara to assess the enforcement of the order by the joint security operatives. During the visit, CP Usman Nagogo expressed satisfaction with the way and manner the security agencies and health workers were discharging their duties. He pledges to continue to see to their welfare at all times, but warned them against any action that will tarnish the good image of security agencies in the state. The CP was accompanied by Brigadier General O.M. Bello, State Director Security Mr. M.T. Wakili, and Commandant Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps Alhaji Aliu Garuba, among others. The Zamfara State Police Command has announced the death of 10 passengers following their involvement in a fatal motor accident along Kaswadaji Gusau Road. The command said a trailer vehicle conveying passengers and goods from Kaswadaji Market involved in a fatal accident. It said 10 persons died on the spot, while 45 others sustained various injuries and were rushed to Federal Medical Center Gusau for treatment. The corpses of the deceased passengers have been deposited at the Federal Medical Center mortuary Gusau and will be handed over to their relations for burial. The command appeals to the general public, especially drivers of commercial vehicles, to refrain from reckless driving and obey all traffic regulations. Otherwise, violators will face the full route of the law. The command explained that investigation commences immediately. The Commissioner of Police CP Usman Nagogo commiserates with the families of the deceased and prays Allah to give them the fortitude to bear with the irreparable loss. Zamfara State Commissioner of Commerce, Industries and Tourism, Alhaji Sufyan Bashir Yuguda, has commended the management of Standard Voice Television for standing up to the fruit in supporting the state government to take the state to greater heights. The commissioner, who was on an official visit to the station, described the caliber of workers and directors of the station as non-political in their discharge of the station's responsibilities in order to reposition the state and make it better for all citizens, and urged them to keep it up. He also promised to invite all government officials in the state to come to the station and account for what they are doing to advance the cause of the state. Earlier, the Chief Executive Officer of the station, Alhaji Ibrahim Magajido Sara, who expressed happiness over the visit, urged the Commissioner to feel free in using the station to educate and enlighten members of the public on government policies and programs, especially in the areas of commerce, industries, and tourism. He said the station, which was established to complement government effort in information dissemination, is determined to enhance cordial relationship between the government and the governed. The Chief Executive Officer said the focus of the station is developmental journalism and called on the Commissioner to concentrate on providing projects and programs that have direct bearing on the people. President Muhammadu Buhari has condemned the latest attacks by bandits in Katsina State in 3 local government areas that left 47 persons dead. This was disclosed in a statement issued by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garuba Shehu. Reacting to the incident on Sunday, the President said that he is deeply saddened by the latest development and called on Nigerians not to despair because his administration is ever determined to defeat and crush these criminal elements taking advantage of the lockdown to attack their victims. While extending his sympathies to the families of the victims, he called on the people to show more vigilance by reporting the activities of criminal elements in their midst. Governor Aminu Masari of Katsina State has announced a total lockdown on Katsina town from 7 a.m. on Tuesday after 2 persons tested positive for coronavirus. Governor Masari, who announced this on Sunday in Katsina at a news conference, said the decision had become imperative following discovery of 2 cases in the state capital. The governor warned those living outside the state capital to stay at their places of residence, declaring that nobody will be allowed into the town. He said that banks will be allowed to operate to enable people to make withdrawals and buy food. He said that the payment of salaries to civil servants will begin from Sunday to cushion the hardship workers would face during the lockdown period. The governor called on neighboring states to enforce full restrictions of movement in their state, pointing out that it was the only way to prevent the disease from moving and circulating. According to him, the lockdown would be for 2 weeks, after which government would review the situation and determine the next step. He urged traditional leaders to guard against people coming into their domains to ward off the chances of infected persons sneaking in. This brings the total number of cases in Katsina State to 11. Alright viewers, we're going to short commercial break, and when we come back, you hear that military has opened 2 COVID-19 labs in Abuja and Lagos. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The Defense Headquarters, Abuja, has opened 2 military laboratories in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, and Lagos states to facilitate coronavirus tests. The DHQ Defense Media Operations on Friday identified the laboratories as the Defense Reference Laboratory, Abuja, and the Nigerian Air Force Reference Laboratory in Lagos. The Defense Media Operations Coordinator, Major General John Eneche, who stated this at a press conference in Abuja, added that the military would apply the minimum necessary force to enforce the lockdown in Abuja, Lagos, and Ogun State. General Eneche added that in line with the effort of the Nigerian military, along with other ministries, departments, agencies of the federal government to tackle the COVID-19 pandemic, the 6 geopolitical zones have been covered by the 21 designated isolation centers. Further to this, the 80 trained medical doctors are already deployed in their formations for engagement. In addition, personal protective equipment have been provided. Governor of Edo State, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, has declared a 10-day dusk-to-dawn curfew in the state. Governor Obaseki, in a statement on Sunday, said that the 20 days curfew was to ensure strict compliance with measures to curb the spread of coronavirus in the state. This order will be reviewed after 10 days when we have increased screening and testing. He said their approach to impose a partial lockdown was to ensure that they do not totally shut down the economy and expose the people to hardship and fatal incidents that have been witnessed in other states that opted for a total lockdown. He ordered security agencies to arrest and prosecute anyone found outside their homes or working around during the hours of the curfew. Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwal of Sokoto State has instituted a 20-man committee to advise it on the modalities of this year's Ramadan feeding program. The committee is expected to submit its report Monday, April 20th, 2020 at the Government House, Sokoto. In his remark before he established the committee, Governor Tambuwal harped on the need not to politicize the works of the Ramadan feeding program, on which the state government spending has risen from 177 million naira under the administration of his predecessor to 380 million naira under his administration last year. Attributing the increase to the rise in the number of beneficiaries annually and the rise in the prices of the commodities procured for distribution, the governor said this year's Ramadan is very critical and important. Also speaking at the meeting, Malam Lawal Medoki, the state executive chairman, Zakat Commission, observed that over the years the Ramadan feeding program has been coping with peculiar challenges, but that this could be surmounted if all stakeholders in the state work closely with each other. He noted that although the program does not have any political coloration now, he said it is very likely that some people will cash in on it and turn it into one. According to him, the basic challenge of the program now is that of the ongoing pandemic of COVID-19. Against the foregoing background, Governor Tambuwal inaugurated the advisory committee to be headed by the Secretary to the State Government, Alhaji Saidu Umar. Other members of the committee are the Chairman of Sokoto State House of Assembly Committees on Religious Affairs, Alhaji Abubakar Shehu Yabo, the State Commissioner for Religious Affairs and Health, Alhaji Abdullahi Megwandu, and Dr. Ali Iname, among others. The Conditional Cash Transfer Office has said that its mode of cash disbursement to CCT beneficiaries is done electronically and not by direct cash payment, as alleged by some National Assembly members. Earlier this month, the National Assembly faulted the manner in which the CCT program was being implemented. Also, there have been concerns pertaining the mode of payment adopted by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, the ministry in charge of the CCT program, with respect to the disbursement of monies to beneficiaries. But the National Coordinator for the CCT program, Temi Tope, told a correspondent that claims suggesting that the government was doling out cash directly to undocumented persons were misplaced. Mrs. Temitope insisted that CCT beneficiaries were paid electronically by the Humanitarian Ministry through her agency. She added that they can only go to agents who operate POS services, and the reason why they did it that way is to ensure seamless transaction. Mrs. Temitope said some of the beneficiaries were illiterate, which was why the agency created a wallet account where payments were made. She explained that members of any particular community where the program was being implemented were the ones who by themselves identified the poor and vulnerable in their midst. Alright, viewers, we're going to short commercial break, and when we come back, Standard Voice Television News continues.
What is the novel coronavirus? When viewed under a microscope, coronaviruses can be seen to have a fringe, giving the appearance of a crown or a solar corona. The 2019 novel coronavirus can cause pneumonia in those who are infected, beginning with an elevated body temperature, fatigue, and dry coughing. This may lead to difficulty breathing and in some cases death. Currently, there is no effective cure for this. Compared to more familiar flu viruses, the novel coronavirus has a notably long period of incubation. It can take up to 2 weeks before a patient shows signs of infection. The coronavirus is typically spread through droplets of saliva in the air from sneezing and coughing, especially when an infected individual is in close proximity to others. In light of this, it's important to keep others at a distance and avoid crowded places to prevent infection. How can I prevent infection outside? When traveling distances, prioritize walking, bicycling, motorcycling, or taking your personal car. When taking public transportation, be sure to wear a mask. When in the workplace, keep a distance of 1.5 meters from anybody you must speak with. Avoid any meetings or gatherings in small, confined spaces. When eating at the same time as others, remember to keep your distance. Don't talk while eating. When shopping at places like supermarkets and shopping malls, try to go when less people are likely to be out. Try to avoid getting close to others. There will be more time for closeness in the future. What should I do if I'm showing signs of infection? If you're showing possible symptoms, such as coughing or elevated body temperature, don't panic. Let's compare pneumonia brought about by the novel coronavirus to a cold and a flu. A cold is often caught in cold weather or as a result of exhaustion. Common cold symptoms include a stuffy nose, a runny nose, and sneezing. Full body symptoms are usually minor. A typical flu is caused by a common flu virus and can lead to respiratory tract infection. In addition to upper respiratory tract issues, those infected can also develop pneumonia. A flu is often accompanied by an elevated body temperature, headaches, muscle fatigue, and a loss of appetite. For those infected by the novel coronavirus, light symptoms will include elevated body temperature, coughing, and cold flashes, while the strongest symptom is having difficulty breathing, sometimes causing death. If your temperature exceeds 38 degrees and is accompanied by coughing or other symptoms, it's extremely important you get to a hospital to be checked to ensure that you are not infected and that you don't infect others. How can I prevent infection at home? First, you should limit how often you go outside and stay away from any crowded places. If you must go out, you should wear a face mask to help you prevent breathing in any particles containing the virus. Upon returning home, the first thing you should do is wash your hands. Wash with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Also, keep your home clean. Open windows and disinfect surfaces at a fixed time. Your immune system is vital. Be sure to get enough sleep, eat healthy, and exercise. These things will boost your immune system and help you if you should need to fight off the virus.
Welcome back on Business. Let me quickly take you to our business desk with Jemima Samuel.
Audio Jungle.
Welcome to Business Desk. Nigeria could slip into a deeper economic crisis in a few days from now unless urgent measures are taken to prevent a total shutdown of crude oil production by aggrieved oil workers. This followed a directive by the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, its members, to suspend all production and maintenance service from midnight of Sunday, 19th April, in protest against continued detention of ExxonMobil staff in Rivers State. The union also directed that 12 noon on Monday, 20th of April, members should withdraw all forms of service relating to crude oil production, refining, distribution, and supplies across the country. In a statement signed by Ndukaku Oheri, Alumamba Ukugbawa, President and General Secretary of Pengasan, the union said the action became inevitable following the failure of the federal government to secure the release of the arrested and detained oil workers by the Rivers State government. It could be recalled that the union raised alarm over the illegal arrest and detention of 21 members, 19 male and 2 female members of staff of ExxonMobil by the Rivers State Police Command on the pretext that they violated the state executive order on the prevention of movements to curtail the spread of coronavirus in the state. It noted that the federal government and its relevant authorities having failed to secure the release of the 21 comrades on legitimate national assignment, the leadership of the union, having no other option, regrettably directs all its members to commence the withdrawal of service as stated above. And that's all we have on Business Desk today. I am Jemima Samuel. Thanks for watching.
And on the international scene,
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
before the historic oil cuts agreed by major producers came into force in May, Saudi Arabia could sell around 600,000 barrels per day of crude to its overseas ally, the U.S. Bloomberg reported. The daily volume sold by the kingdom to the U.S. during April could be the highest for a year. The report says, citing a Saudi Arabia industry official familiar with allocations to American refiners. An earlier report put Riyadh's massive exports even higher. According to CNBC, Saudi shipments are more than double from February to March. Thus, March shipment of crude reached 25 million barrels, the highest figure since December 2018. Oil markets will not start to see recovery before June despite historic production cuts. The report claimed that April's figures were set for the skyrocket, as in the first 2 weeks alone, some 1.46 million barrels per day of Saudi oil were shipped to U.S. ports. The Bloomberg report, however, suggested that Aramco was front-loading some of its April shipment, noting that the amount being shipped had since dropped. Riyadh ramped up production to a record of over 12 million barrels per day, flooding the already sinking market with oil after it failed to find common ground on new output cuts with Moscow during the talks in early March. That has been the news from Standard Voice Television. To end the news, a quick look at the major headlines. Zamfara State Commissioner of Police commended inhabitants of Svtv for complying with the state government lockdown directive. President Muhammadu Buhari condemns killings of 47 persons by bandits. Military opens 2 COVID-19 labs in Abuja and Lagos. On business, Pengasson directed suspension of crude oil production in 24 hours. And on the international scene, Saudi Arabia may sell one of its highest volumes of oil to U.S. before OPEC deal comes into effect. That's the news on behalf of the production crew and Head of News and Current Affairs Department, Alhaji Ibrahim Garuba Tinau. I still remain Musa Joy. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned.